Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We are on StreamYard, and we are on everywhere. You can find Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris. Check us out on all these places that you're going to be seeing popping up on the screen. Tonight, we'll be getting into the sad state of the Phillies to start things. And, Bobby, what do you have to say right off the start?
It's not good. We're choking. We're going down the tubes quick.
It's not good. After we play some commercials and after this break, we'll be back and get right into it.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Nobody can sum up Philadelphia sports like Bobby Cash, and nobody can sum up the Phillies like Bobby Cash. And you put it exactly right, Bobby. It's not good. But for those who have followed us for the last couple of months, we've been telling you this was coming, and unfortunately, we were right.
So, first we have to get down to some business here. We have to let everybody know this is our first StreamYard episode. We're here on StreamYard for the first time. We got 8 viewers in here. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Also, YouTube, IE Sports Radio. IE Sports Radio is available on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, and everywhere else in the world. Also, go to our website, iesportsradio.com, iesportsradio.com shop. You want to check out some stuff in there, get some merchandise. Check out our show, iesportsradio.com/Philly Sports Talk, and follow us on X at Philly Talk IE. Follow Chris Amos at Chris Amos 717. And myself at Bobby Cash 215. Also, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Follow them also on Instagram, and you can order it here. Also, our other sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Follow them on Instagram, and that's it for our sponsors. We thank everybody that's sponsored our show and everybody that's listened over the last 3 years. This is our 174th episode, so we're not new to the business, folks. This is something we've been doing for a while now, and we finally took it to video.
Just new to StreamYard.
So after listening to us for all this time, you can finally see our faces. I'm Bobby Cash. That's Chris Amos.
Bobby, it's never good news, is it?
I mean, it started out good. This season started out great. This season looked like a dream season, but we warned you. We warned you. They hadn't really played anybody good. I mean, they were taking on the likes of the White Sox, the Nationals, the Rockies. They even struggled against the Rockies. They struggled out in San Francisco. They played great at home, the Phillies. The Phillies are dominated at home. But we always said, wait till they get to this tough part of the schedule. They'll show what they're really made of. And they've struggled. It's been tough. I mean, even if you want to hate on them, it's been a gauntlet. It's been really tough. I mean, they've had to go to L.A. That they have to go to where do they go next? San Francisco. I mean,
Arizona. They're going
Arizona.
next.
Arizona. It's just tough. I mean, you played up in Seattle. These are good teams, and they're on the West Coast. That doesn't make for an easy road trip. Easy to win these games. It's tough. And Phillies have had injuries to the pitching staff. Ranger Suarez is out. I mean, that hurts. That was a guy who was a Cy Young candidate, and you just lose him like that and have to have Tyler Phillips, a guy that's untested, coming out of the minors, a guy like Colby Allred. I mean, these guys are not people that we counted on being in our rotation. So it's tough. I mean, it's we hope that they regroup. Will they? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think the problem also lies right at the doorstep of the manager. I don't think the manager is good enough. I've thought that from day one. Moves that he's made, moves that he hasn't made, the way he's put this lineup together. Yes, they're struggling. Yes, they've gone on a stretch. I mean, a lot of people want to call it a slump. When you lose 6 series in a row, that's not a slump. That's a trend. And I always hear from the manager, well, they're talented. Everything will come back. Well, he's been saying that for a few weeks now. And yeah, they won a game in Seattle on Sunday. And last night, really, they probably shouldn't have scored last night. I mean, the Dodgers made a few mistakes and they just got, if they're not hitting home runs, it seems like they're not scoring. And
it's been that way for you. It's been that way for a long time.
And once again, last night, they did get a 2-0 lead and it was blown by Aaron Nola before you could blink. I mean, it was something we've become accustomed to with Aaron Nola. And I think we said it at the time, we were hoping he would move on, but he'll be here for 6 more years. So
you mean the guy that doesn't know how to get a shutdown inning, Aaron Nola, didn't get a shutdown inning?
No. And once it starts to go in an inning, it seems to continue that way. I mean, yeah, they lost 5-3 last night, home run from Ohtani late. But it's just been this stretch where the offense has been really bad. When you have Harper going a stretch kind of 1 for 30 and you have Turner not hitting well, since JT Realmuto has been back, they might as well have Marchand playing. I mean, JT gives you nothing, but we've said that since day one. If it wasn't for JT Realmuto, we wouldn't have this show. So
I think they may move on from him in this offseason. I think they're starting to see the knee injuries. Now, the only thing is, will another team take him and his $20 million a year? I don't know. But if he can get you a pitcher, I think it's time to move on.
But it seems like some guys like that, the Phillies are not quick to move on from. I mean, why is Garrett Stubbs still on the team?
Because he brings that camaraderie and that excitement. Now, that's their reasoning, not mine. Marchand should be the catcher. Let me go to the chat. Jen B, thank you for joining us. Have a great show. Kale, thank you for joining us. Taryn, as always, thank you for joining us. Gridiron 2437, good evening. Thank you. Have a great show. Taryn says he thinks the Phillies will regroup but never count out the Braves. The Braves also had their problems.
Never count them out.
But the Braves have had their troubles as well. Max Fried's battled injuries. Now they have Ronaldo Lopez on the IL. I mean, that guy has a 2.06 ERA. So that's another shot to them. And they trail the Brewers 10-0 tonight as we speak in the 8th. Wow. So if this isn't reminiscent of last year when the Brewers pretty much let the Phillies get into the playoffs with their bad play, it looks that way this year as well. It looks like it's going to be a battle of attrition as these teams, nobody wants to step up and take it. The Mets do worry me now. They've cut it to 7. And they look like they have that edge, the Mets. So we got to watch them. They could come from behind just like we came from behind on them. In 2017, we were 7 games back with 17 games. 7 games back with 17 to go.
2007. 2007.
I say 2017.
Yeah, that was the good
years ago.
that was a good Eagles year. But yeah, when you went back to 2007, the Phillies closed it out late. Yeah, and also you look recently at the trade deadline. I don't think the Phillies did themselves any favors at the trade deadline with their lineup. mean, Austin
No.
Hayes, that's who
It's
you
not
added.
enough.
Okay. No,
It's
it's
not
not even
enough.
close to being
How many
enough.
years in a row did they not do enough? We're going to look back on this year and be like, oh, that's the year they got Austin Hayes. They just didn't do enough. They didn't make enough moves. They actually did better getting rid of Soto and Dominguez. That was their two best moves at the trade deadline.
Absolutely.
Getting rid of them. They picked up a closer. I haven't seen anything out of him yet. What have
No,
you
and there's
seen
not
from
many.
him?
But there's not many games where they get a chance to close. So,
Well,
I mean, seriously,
the extra inning game that he blew, he struck that guy out. They really have had some bad calls against them. I don't like to use umpiring as an excuse, but they've had some bad strike zone calls against them in the last few games.
yeah, I don't like to use that either. I mean, the extra inning game, I'm not so sure the Phillies score there anyway. It probably would have ended up as a loss. I mean, obviously that the 2-2 pitch was obviously a strike, but how many times you see a strike call where the catcher's got to reach all the way across his body? That you don't see much. I mean, he missed his spot by a lot, but no, it's just frustrating. And there's two guys who are very important to the Phillies that I just blame the manager for messing them up, and that's Marsh and Stott.
You got it.
I mean, he screwed them up. He screwed them up completely.
He has. He's ruined Bryson Stott. I mean, he has this idea that Bryson Stott can't hit a left-handed pitcher. Bryson Stott batted .300 against left-handed pitchers last year. I just don't understand it. I think he's gone away from it lately. I haven't seen Sosa as much lately, so maybe he's learned his lesson as well. And Stott's starting to come around. He's up to .320 on base percentage. I mean, he has pop. Bryson Stott has pop in his bat. He'll hit you 20 home runs. He just needs to play. He's an everyday player. He's been an everyday player his whole life.
That's the point. If he's your everyday player, along with Turner, Harper. Now, of course, he's not making the money that they're making. He's not making the money Castellanos is making and Schwarber's making. Those guys are allowed to go 1 for 25, 1 for 30. But Stott, he's not even in there long enough to do that, because good left-handed pitching, or if they face anybody that's left-handed, really, he's trying to platoon them out. And yeah,
it's almost like Thompson wants to say, he keeps saying he wants to keep these guys fresh, keep them fresh. They need to play. And just like last night, he didn't hit Realmuto in the ninth inning. He was criticized for that. He said, I wanted to give him the day off. A day off. He couldn't go up, stand there and bat for 5 pitches. That's going to wear him out.
Well, I guess his thinking last night was, which still sounds foolish to me, was, well, if we tie this game up, then he's got to catch. Yeah. So.
Yeah, right. What's going to happen?
So you put a guy up there who had no chance of getting a hit.
Right.
You saw that all night with Garrett Stubbs. He wasn't going to get a hit. Not that I believe if you put Realmuto up there, he would have come through. I mean, I think the game would have ended the same. But
back to Garrett Stubbs real quick. Garrett Stubbs isn't a good enough defensive catcher to warrant him playing. He doesn't give you enough on behind the plate to make up for his ones. What is he at 180? I mean, he can't be a major league catcher.
No, and I don't care if Aaron Nola likes throwing to him or not. I mean, Aaron Nola, how do you like throwing to him in that inning where he gave up 5 consecutive hits and gave up the lead?
I don't understand why Aaron Nola likes throwing to him. I would, if I was pitching, he's just too small of a target. He's a little guy back there. I don't understand it. They have a decent backup in Marchand. Marchand needs to be the backup on this team. That's it.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they're going to do that. Now, I guess some of the recent news is, like you said, Ranger Suarez is coming back. Seems like he's getting through the rehab pretty well. I don't know what we're going to get from him. What do you get? The first 2 months, or you get the last 2 months?
Well, it depends on his velocity. If we hear he's throwing, mid-90s, he's going to do a rehab assignment. For some reason, the Phillies don't like doing rehab assignments. Trey Turner didn't want to do it. Marsh did a couple games. I guess you got to send Ranger down to the minors to see how he is. You can't just throw him on a major league mound and expect him to just get back into the groove. He has to at least throw 1 game, 5 innings down in the minors, I would think.
Yeah, and as Jen chimes in and says that the umpires have been awful and horrible and inconsistent. Yeah, and I've said this before. If over the last couple of years on this show, I hate that box. I hate that box. I mean, we grew up with Eric Gregg. I mean, the strike zone got bigger and bigger as the game went on.
You know why, right? You know what Eric Gregg's reasoning was, right?
Well, he wanted to go eat.
Yeah, there was a buffet in the back. He said it himself. The faster the game's over, he would love it today. He would love these games, 2-hour games, and he's back at the buffet. He would have been in his glory.
And the thing also I worry about with the Phillies, and it's not even worth me worrying about because they're going to do it. They're going to pitch Taijuan Walker as soon as he's ready. And look, we say a lot of this tongue in cheek, but if Taijuan Walker's on the mound, that's easy money. Just take the other team.
Yeah, that's all. The Phillies are giving you a gift.
Yeah,
because he's 5 runs, 5 innings.
Because especially now, it's not going to revert back to what it was last year when Taijuan Walker would pitch, look bad for 6 innings, but you look up, the Phillies have 8 or 9 runs, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, they did give him some run support.
But Bobby, the one question I wanted to ask you though, when you look back over the time that we've been doing this show, and you look at the Phillies, because obviously baseball is what's brought us here. The lineup has been inconsistent for long periods of time. How long does this? I mean, if by chance they sneak into the playoffs and there's an early exit because there's no offense, I mean, how long can they keep going like this? I mean, don't you have to move 3-4 key pieces out of it?
Yeah, that's what I said. I think you have to move on from Realmuto this offseason. You have to look at moving on from Castellanos because he just doesn't give you the production that a $20 million player should. I think they're locked into Turner and Harper. That's the unfortunate.
Right.
They're not going anywhere. They're going to be here. So it's got to be the pieces around them. But then you're going to come into a period where you're going to have to decide, do we sign Alec Bohm long-term? Do we sign Bryson Stott long-term? I don't think they like Bryson Stott for some reason, as you can tell by the manager's use of him. He might be the guy that goes. But you're also locked into Zach Wheeler. You're locked into Aaron Nola. These guys aren't going anywhere. So I know that people are going to want change if they fail in the first round or second round, but there's not many pieces to move. It's just the catcher and the right fielder. Agree?
Oh, yeah, I do. And the other thing I look at is it looked good. And there was plenty of times where we were just going back and forth with each other. And it seemed like moves that kind of baffled us were seeming to work out for Thompson early in the season. But I don't think going forward, if you get Bryce Harper as advertised, not like the streak he's been having now, how bad he's been, I don't think Bohm's the right guy to bat behind him. I mean, Bohm's a guy who I mean, he's there now because everybody else they put there from JT to Castellanos failed.
Bohm's an RBI guy, though. He makes contact. I mean, you have to have a guy that makes contact hitting behind him. But you know, I like the left right thing. That's how you make a lineup. You don't ever put 2 guys in a row on the same. You know, because nowadays you have to go with relief pitchers. You have to pitch the three batters, obviously. So you want to spread it out. You want to go right, left. I mean, that's just the way I would do it. But would you bat 5th or 4th? I mean,
well, what I'm saying is, I think you have to look to bring somebody in. Juan Soto.
It should be shorter.
You bet Juan Soto going forward.
I'm all for it. Why not?
I mean, that would break up your right, left.
What's their payroll? $300 million. What's the difference? Go 325 at 330. Who cares? It's not my money. It's not Bobby Cash's cash, right? Who cares? Let's bring in another guy.
Yeah. And well, that seems to have been the way the Phillies have done this. I mean, they haven't done a lot through the farm system. I mean, if you look, I guess there's 2 guys. If you want to throw Rojas in there, they have 3 guys who have come through their farm system with Bowman Stott. But no, their thing is to make a big splash in the offseason if one's possible. I mean, we even saw this offseason where they really wanted Yamamoto to be on the team.
Yeah.
Actually offered him more than the Dodgers did. He just didn't want to play in Philadelphia.
Right. He wanted to go out there with Ohtani. I mean,
yeah, with Ohtani.
Can't really blame him. I mean, in retrospect, we'd be all over them if we got him.
Probably.
Moto with his arm. I mean, I said it the first time I saw the guy pitch. I said, this guy's all arm. It's not going to his arm's not going to hold up. He's going to get hurt, and he did. He's going to try to prove himself. He's going to overthrow the ball, and it's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and what Larry says here is true. He says the Phillies are still an incredibly strong team, only when they're hitting home runs on the offensive side. On the pitching side, like I said, you saw at the beginning of the season, Bobby, like I did, and we talked about it plenty. Best bullpen in baseball, and we were just shaking our heads. Well, how bad has baseball gotten? And at the trade deadline, that best bullpen in baseball, what they had to do was they had to revamp almost the whole thing. And even
right, they were the best. I like to see the worst if they were the best. I mean, it can't be that much of a gap. They did. They got rid of the whole. They revamped the whole thing. So obviously they didn't agree they were the best. Even the management didn't agree on that.
No, and they didn't perform like it. I mean, the guy who they had as the closer, Alvarado, he's now a guy who even this manager really doesn't want to use unless he has to. I mean, the worst outing we've seen from Hoffman was the other day. But see, I never buy into this where, okay, Hoffman came in the 6th inning and that was a problem because that's not the role he's used to. Well, your role is to get people out. 6th inning, 3rd inning, 9th inning. You're supposed to get people out, and he had a bad outing.
I disagree. I don't think he should have been in the game. I think in his mind he was prepping to come in the 8th or 9th inning.
I agree with that. I'm just saying once you're out there, I mean,
but it's tough. He might not have been prepared. A bullpen pitcher goes through a routine. 7th inning, I start the stretch. Here I'll start the light toss in the bottom of the 7th. He didn't get that opportunity. He was told you're going to go in the 6th. Come on, he's not a 6th inning pitcher.
Right, and I guess the problem also was that they've run into. I mean, their all-star left-hander from the bullpen. I mean, Strom has been struggling. You take a look at last year. The Phillies had 2 guys on the all-star team. 2. They had Kimbrel and Castellanos. They killed the team in the second half in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now this year, what did they do? They had 8. Okay, Wheeler's been Wheeler. He had a bad home start against the Yankees. All right. Technically, he's really had maybe 2 bad starts this season, maybe 2. He's been good. Okay, injured. Harper, since the break, awful. Bohm's been Bohm. Turner, no. It's just been downhill. I mean, you look at the bullpen, Strom hasn't been really good, and Hoffman, we just saw the worst outing of his career. So these all-stars.
How about that catch by Brandon Marsh the other night? Did you see that?
Oh, my goodness.
You'll never see a play. That has to be an all-time play right there. He lost track of the ball. Ball ended up in his glove. I mean, that's a 1 in a million play. I mean, that's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
That's one of those things, Bobby,
where found his glove.
where if it's a playoff game, that ball hits him in the head and the guy gets a triple.
Yeah, you're right. It would have hit him in the head. And the Rockies have scored 3 runs to take a 4-2 lead. So I know we're scoreboard watching a little early. The Phillies have, 50 games left? They're 66 and 46. As you see the standings scrolling across the bottom here, I love it. They're 66 and 46, 112 games, and 50 games remain. 5.5 game lead.
Can they go 25 and 25?
That's all they really have to do, because if they go 25 and 25, the Braves would have to be 31 and 21, which is going to be tough.
They have a bunch of games against the Braves and the Mets as well.
Yeah. You just look to split those. You look to go to those series and split those games, because if you split them, they can't gain any ground. As long as you don't get swept, you're okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, if the Mets lose that one tonight, that would not surprise me, because this is their 3rd city in 3 days. I don't know how they scheduled them to play in St. Louis yesterday. They managed to win that one.
I know why.
Go ahead.
No, I took the Cardinals to win the division, remember?
Oh, I know. I'm just saying they just dropped that game in there because I guess both teams technically had a day off and they could make that game up, and then they had to go to Colorado. So hopefully the Rockies hold on and win that game, and the Phillies will be starting 20 minutes from now.
Yeah, right around 10:10, 10:05. Yeah, 10:10 out in LA. They're facing a struggling Clayton Kershaw tonight.
Oh, I thought it was Sandy Koufax. No, I'm kidding.
The only thing is, I don't know that Christopher Sanchez can go into an environment like Los Angeles and pitch well. We'll see in a few minutes, but I don't like the matchup.
No, and here's the problem too that they'll run into there, and they're going to run into it a lot. If they get early leads, I mean, you're not playing the White Sox. I mean, you're not playing the Tigers. You're not playing teams that are just rolling over or you're able to roll over. I mean, if you're playing the Dodgers, they're going to come back, or at least they're going to put enough pressure on you. I mean, you saw the same thing with Seattle doing it. So
yeah. And as you saw on the screen a second ago, the Phillies start a 4-game series in Arizona this weekend, a rematch of last year's National League Championship Series, in which the Phillies majorly choked after coming home for Game 6 and 7, dropping both at home in terrible fashion.
Everything's fine once they get to Arizona. They always play well in Arizona. Yeah, right. They always play well in Arizona. Yeah, right.
You might as well just chalk up three losses before we even go in.
Bobby, you could go out there and pitch for the Diamondbacks and throw with your offhand and probably get a win. 7
innings, 1 run.
I mean, because even last year in the championship series, we were seeing guys come in and just go right through the lineup with ERAs over 10.
Brandon Puff.
Right.
Where's he at this year? He's still on the team, but I mean, his numbers are bad, just like we thought they'd be.
Yeah, and Arizona's hit a pretty good stretch here, where they've seemed to be playing some better ball. But they're
playing good ball. They're about 8 or 10 games over 500. They're probably going to get into the wild card this year and give somebody headaches, possibly us, in the first round, if not the Dodgers. Look what they did to the Dodgers last year. They went into LA and they just destroyed them, hit them all over the field. I mean, it wasn't even a series. Arizona just
exactly. And we were on here talking about the fact that, well, okay, bring on the Diamondbacks. This looks like an easy ticket to the World Series, and obviously it wasn't.
So real quick before we go to break, I just wanted to let our new viewers here let us know, let them know what we usually do. We talk all 4 Philly sports teams. We mix in a little bit of movies. Lately we've been doing top 10 lists. Chris brings out a top 10 list, and I have to guess what's on the list, and that's been something fun we do over on.
And if time, I have one tonight.
There we go. So we're going to take a break right now. We'll come back in a few minutes, and we'll talk Eagles, Sixers, and whatever else comes up. We'll go to break. IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk. We'll be right back.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and a weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back, everybody. Philly Sports Talk. Cash and Chris. IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to get into the second half of the show. We covered the Phillies. We went over pretty much everything you need to know about the team, and we hope it goes good from here on in. We get into the Eagles. It's almost time for preseason to start. What do you think? How do we look?
I just have my fingers crossed that there's no injuries, and I guess that's the way everybody's looking at their preseason. I mean, I keep seeing the reports about how Jalen Hurts is playing really, really well, completing a lot of passes, not a lot of interceptions. Yeah, but doesn't that say something about the defense then?
But on the other hand, is the defense really going all out? Are they really trying to hurt the quarterback? Come on.
No, they're not. They're not.
I mean, they're in shorts and t-shirts. I mean, not that extreme, but I mean, I can't take anything out of preseason, out of training camp. Maybe even preseason I could, but they're not going to play. I saw reports today that Jordan Love's going to start. The Packers are going to play their starters. We're going to see in week one what kind of difference that makes when the Eagles take on the Packers in Brazil. You're going to see one team that doesn't play players in preseason versus another team that does. So you're going to see the difference on the field. I mean, I've seen players go down though. Puka Nacua has a knee injury now. Christian McCaffrey strained calf. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm becoming a fan of sit them. There's no reason to lose players. I mean, growing up, how many times we see a player go out for the season in training camp? I remember Mike Pitts one year in the defensive line for the Eagles. You can't afford to lose these guys.
Yeah, and I guess it's that I go back to it again. It's that Joseph Heller book, Catch-22, because if you don't play them, you might get off to kind of a slow start, and then again, if you play them, somebody could get hurt. But then again, you look last year, the Eagles didn't play anybody in preseason; they were 10-1.
True.
So because they didn't play in preseason, they fell off at the end. No, that's not what happened. But
No.
You mentioned that game though in Brazil. I'm waiting to see what colors the teams wear, because I know the Eagles will probably be in all white. I don't know what colors. What the Packers are going to be? Yellow, because you can't wear green, right?
Oh yeah, how about that? That's true.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's for real though. They're really not allowed to wear green. The Brazilian government actually said that. It's disrespectful.
Yeah.
What are they both going to wear white on? Maybe they could wear green pants. I don't know. We'll see.
The Eagles helmet's green.
Yeah, I don't see any way around it. They had to talk them out of it. There's no way that happens.
It was just
reported.
It was just a bizarre story that hit that game, and it's just bizarre to see a game going to be played in Brazil, and it's the Eagles. I mean,
I'm fine with it. I just don't like the fact that the Eagles lose a home game because of it.
No, that's true. But you know, and even when they started doing the games over in London, I mean, you would think maybe they would have started with, I don't know, Jacksonville against Carolina or somebody like that. But you're right. I mean, the Eagles are the ones that have to lose a home game, and I don't know. It's probably
Jacksonville has been the team that's gone to London because, frankly, nobody wants to see them play in Jacksonville. So they figure they go overseas. They'll get some viewers. I mean, they'll get some fans. They've actually become, a quasi home team. I mean, that's become their team. London's team is the Jaguars.
And because the Eagles haven't played a game in London, and here it is, the first game of the season. I mean, let's say they go down there and play well. They win the game 24-20. Is there a carryover then to the next week? I mean, you have a little bit longer. You got to travel. I mean, the week's a little bit longer, but you got to travel. I mean, if you get down there and lose, I mean, that could really carry over into the next week or two.
Absolutely. I mean,
I guess we won't see until it happens.
Just the going down there part. Like, are they going to go down and spend the whole week there? Are they going to go down on Friday like a normal road game? I don't know. Hopefully they do. I don't think they should spend too much time in Brazil walking around the streets, to tell you the truth, and get in trouble down there. But
Good.
yeah. But is it going to be the same effect that the Phillies had, going overseas and then coming back and pretty much playing lethargic for the next month? I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't think. mean, that may have had a small part to do with the Phillies. I mean, what the problem there was, just the way they lost the second game there was a problem. But yeah, I mean, just like you said, I mean, we jumped on StreamYard now, and we're doing this. It's the beginning of August, and before you know it, football is going to be here. And I don't know. I said last week. Like I said last week, when it comes to the Eagles, I have a question mark, and I hope the question mark turns into an exclamation point.
Yeah, and Friday night the Eagles will go down to Baltimore, and once again, there's going to be bad weather here on the East Coast. You got the hurricane coming up the East Coast. I see flashbacks back to that preseason game they played against the Ravens at the Link. Remember when the field wasn't ready? It
was horrible. It was horrible.
They couldn't play the game because of the field conditions. I could see that happening again. You're really going to put guys out there and grass with mud and in a preseason game and risk injury? I don't think so.
And like we said last week too, with where it comes down to these preseason games as well, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to play many of their starters, but then again, you have 2 new coordinators as well. So I don't know. I guess they don't play them, and you just wait to week 1 and hope everything starts off like it did last year.
Well, you know how they used to have these games where the practices against the team they were going to play that week.
Yeah,
you know, they would bring New England in, or they bring in the Jets, teams from the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Miami. I know they've done it against. Maybe they'll do that. I mean, play the guys. Run their plays in those extended practices. I don't know. But, I mean, I know Nick Sirianni just doesn't like to play guys in the preseason and risk injury. Playing a team like the Green Bay Packers on week 1 does not help because they're not going to be forgiving at all.
Bobby, when the Eagles in this offseason, they brought in Kellen Moore and they brought in Nick Fangio. When those 2 were brought in, did it do anything to move the needle in your mind, or is it just an upgrade from, or just trying to get an upgrade from how bad things were at the end of last season?
Well, it's definitely an upgrade, on both sides of the ball. Brian Johnson was in above his head.
Oh my goodness.
Kellen Moore, I like what he's done down in Dallas. I think he had the number 1 offense in the league with Dak Prescott, the number 1 passing offense at least. And then he went out to San Diego. I always say San Diego. Sorry, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles now.
And he did a great job with Herbert out there in LA. I mean, I like what he brings, and we're going to have to see him week to week and really see what he brings to the table. And the toys that he has here with Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, he's got some toys to play with. So, I mean,
yeah, sure does.
You want to be creative as an offensive coordinator, you can do it. There's no need to hold anything back with these guys.
Well, and it strikes me because I was watching Monday Night Raw last night, and at the beginning they brought out Randy Orton, and his finishing move are his initials, RKO. I had to think of the Eagles. Will there be RPO?
I heard there is. I heard he wants to use.
I hope so.
He wants to use Jalen as a runner, and that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear, because that's when the Eagles, and that's when Jalen is at his best, and that's what the Eagles are at their best, when he's running the ball. And just hope this offensive line, cross your fingers that this offensive line holds up, and that Cam Jurgens can step right in and fill the void of Jason Kelce, because that's going to be tough to do. But if he could be 80% of the player that Jason Kelce was, I think we'll be fine, because we still have Lane Johnson and we still have Jordan Mailata on the ends, and they're both Pro Bowl caliber players. So. And I see that Brandon Ayuk is looking for a trade. Interest?
He went to Pittsburgh.
When? 2 seconds ago?
Today.
I'm looking at the screen. It says he's looking for a trade. Brandon Ayuk got traded to Pittsburgh. Well, that's breaking news. Put up the breaking news. Breaking news
banner. Yep, he went to Pittsburgh.
Wow, who'd they give up for him?
I don't know. We'll have to have the staff look up the Brandon Ayuk trade to Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And we'll
Philly Sports Talk here. We're ahead of ESPN because, it says if he's traded. Well, that's we're getting the signal. It hasn't happened yet. It's not official. They do have him with
not official. Okay,
it's not official, because I would have said I'm looking at ESPN now, and I'm looking at the screen. It's not official.
Well, how did I see all that stuff on Twitter with all the Pittsburgh fans?
Well, it does say that. It says Steelers brass is confident a deal for Ayuk is imminent.
Imminent. Okay.
So, I mean,
the fans jumped the gun.
I mean, that'll help them out,
Yeah.
and at the same time help the NFC out, because he's a great number 2 receiver, and taking him away from the 49ers, that's really going to hurt their offense and Brock Purdy. I mean, that just leaves you with, Kittle and Samuel. I mean, that hurts them.
Well, and as Jen says, Pittsburgh is in the mix. It's between the Browns, the Patriots, and the Steelers. Yeah, and it looked like today. It looked like today for sure that it was the Steelers.
Well, it's between those 3 teams, and that's a good thing. They're all AFC teams. That's smart on San Francisco's part. They're not going to beef up the Eagles or beef up the Cowboys or the Packers by giving them to them. That's smart. That's something, keep them in the other conference.
And hey, for Jen on the chat board, how was the city over the weekend with SummerSlam being there?
Cleveland.
She'll get back to me. And make sure you check out the wrestling show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports with the SoCal Saint. Definitely don't miss that.
I actually caught some wrestling last night. I saw Gunther walking down into the ring with
My favorite.
I did catch that. Well, it's 10:08 here on Philly Sports Talk on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And we have about 12 minutes left. Too early for the top 10, or let's get it.
No, it's not. But before we do that, as we always do with some pop culture, I managed to catch 2 decent movies this week.
Oh wow!
Jen says it was crazy, and the Guardians were home too. Oh wow! Well then,
A lot of people.
Yeah, you got 100,000 people or more right there in that one area. Yeah, anytime I am more than willing to be on that wrestling show, and if they want to talk history of what I did in the past as a promoter and an employee of ECW, I'm more than willing to talk. The 2 movies I wanted to mention were they were older movies. The one from 1990, it's called State of Grace. Have you seen that? Sean Penn.
I have not.
Sean Penn playing an undercover cop. It's an outstanding movie. How do I put it? Earthy, gritty type.
Okay.
Undercover cop movie. So really good. And then the other one, and I do recommend this one, not filled with stars. I mean, you might know a few of them, but it's called The Neighbor. It's from 2016 or 17. It's called The Neighbor. So if you get a chance, check that out. Jean Louise Kelly is in that movie.
That sounds familiar. That sounds like a Netflix movie. When they across the street. Was it across the street?
No, it was like right next door, and
there's so many of those neighbor movies.
Yeah, exactly. But this one was done really, really well.
I'll have to check it out.
Those were the 2, and
NASCAR returns this weekend after a 2-week Olympic break. I know. Finally. Something else we talk about often on here is NASCAR. Yeah. I tell the SoCal Saint all the time about your past. There you go. An ECW, cool. Chris, and he would love to have you on the show. There you go. Yeah, I would love to listen to it.
Yeah, we'll set it up sometime.
Yeah. Awesome.
And let's see where is NASCAR this week? They are
short track.
Richmond.
Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah, a nice Denny Hamlin win this week, probably, unless Larson causes problems.
Yeah, I mean that's always a track where a veteran takes it. Most likely a Hamlin Larson. How many races this year have been Hamlin and Larson? A lot of them. Chase Elliott's been coming on lately.
Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick too. Oh yeah, I'd be more than happy to join the extra mile.
Yeah,
sure.
So without further ado, our first top 10 on StreamYard.
Yeah, and I made this one Philly. So the top 10 I have, and we'll see how well Bobby does with this. And it's the top 10 greatest players to ever wear a Phillies uniform. And I have 3 honorable mentions. Nobody currently on the team or currently playing qualifies for the list.
So all they had to do was play for the Phillies. Doesn't matter how long, correct?
All they had to do is play.
Put the uniform on.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody wants to throw some in the chat? Be welcome.
And Bobby, I started with 1980 going forward.
Okay. Well,
and usually what we do with the top 10s is when someone from the top 10 gets mentioned, it's not on my list. It would be on Bobby's list, so that just adds to the discussion.
Right. So The first guy that comes to mind, you're not going to believe it. It's a guy that only wore the uniform for a little while. It's a pitcher, and he's got to be on your list. Pedro Martinez.
Number 3.
There you go.
Arguably could be number 1.
Right.
Arguably.
Steve Carlton's going to be on the list.
Number 2.
Number 1's going to be Mike Schmidt.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard is number 6.
Okay. Chase Utley.
Number 7.
Okay. Bryce Harper.
Well, currently not. He's still playing. So anyone who's currently playing is not on the list.
There's nobody on the oh, really? Okay. Harper will
be. He will be for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins is 5. I mean, sadly, Craig Kimber will be on the list one day.
Not on my list.
No, I know not yours, but the numbers speak for themselves. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in Philadelphia. So yeah, 8, 9, and 10 is left in the 3 honorable mentions.
Ryan Sandberg. Did he ever actually wear a Phillies uniform? No, right?
I don't think he played for the Phillies. He managed.
Yeah. Is he on the list?
No, he's not on the list.
The Hall of Famer.
I think the rest of these, Hall of Famers are still here on my list.
Okay, pitchers or position players?
Let's see. I have 1, 2.
I got
2
one.
pitchers.
Pete Rose. Pete Rose
is number 4.
Okay. And you said pitchers?
I have 2 pitchers, a second baseman, and then I have 3 honorable mentions.
Second baseman. Wow. Not a Manny Trio.
No.
Oh, Roy Halladay.
Roy Halladay for sure, number 8.
Cliff Lee?
No.
Kurt Schilling.
Kurt Schilling, yes.
There we go.
For the top, and to round out the top 10, you just missed number 10, the second baseman.
Second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be somebody who was here for a short time.
He was more known as a Red.
Joe Morgan.
Yes, Joe
Okay.
Morgan. And then just the honorable mentions I put in was Tony Perez.
Wow.
Fernando Valenzuela.
Okay.
And the last one, Billy Wagner.
Jamie Moyer.
Jamie Moyer could be. Yeah. I mean, I think that guy could still.
Wait, who was your last one? Who was your last one?
Billy Wagner.
Okay. How about Julio Franco?
Yeah, that's true with the longevity and everything. Yeah. I also wanted to put near the top Rick Shue, but
Darren Dalton.
Dalton. Yeah. I mean, the list could probably be an easy. And if you went back past 1980, you could get 30 guys easily.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that was a good one. I did good there.
Yeah, when we got right to 10-15, we covered the Phillies, we covered the Eagles. There's not much to say with the Sixers, and Embiid hasn't got hurt in the Olympics, so that's good.
All I see is people begging Steve Kerr not to play him.
And the Flyers, I mean, we'll definitely get into them heavy with the addition of Mitchkov coming over, and once they start revving things up.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. I mean, it's going to be a star on the ice in Philadelphia. So I mean, it's going to be different. We haven't had a star since Eric Lindros in my eyes. Claude Giroux a superstar.
You know, another Philadelphia team who, when you came down the stretch last year, the last 20 games looked like it looked like it was going to take a lot for them to not make the playoffs, and they managed to do it.
They did. So, that's been the theme this last year in Philadelphia.
It has.
Choke jobs.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Major collapses, and I'm hoping that the Phillies don't join the list.
Oh, yeah, me too. And of course, next week we'll more of the same. We'll see what the Phillies do on this road trip and how they fare when they come back home, and we'll be back.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our first show on StreamYard. It was a success. 117 people in the chat. We'll see you all next week. We'll do it again. Good night, everybody.
And let me remind you, if you're listening to IE Sports Radio and not eating Planet Jerky, you're doing something wrong. See you guys.
Good night.